it's Cass. Welcome back to my channel, What Cass Read. Today I'm bringing you my spoiler-free review of The Poppy War, written by R.F. Kuang. So The Poppy War is an Asian-inspired fantasy series written by R.F. Kuang, and it draws inspiration from real-life events, so it does draw on some pretty grim historical events and interweaves them into this really exciting fantasy series. It follows a young girl named Rin who starts off basically at the bottom of the food chain. She's a war orphan in a rural province and is able to work her way up through a military academy and later on discovers some magical powers that she didn't know existed before. There's a laundry list of content warnings for this book, so if you have anything that you could potentially be triggered by, I don't recommend this book for you. There are content warnings for sexual violence, sexual assault, mass genocide, mass murder, mutilation, rampant drug use. There's a laundry list, like I said. So if that is not something that you can jive with, then thanks for coming to this video, I appreciate it, but The Poppy War is probably not going to be for you. So I picked up The Poppy War because I was really searching for an Asian-inspired fantasy book that was written by a Asian author. I wanted Asian-inspired fantasy written by an Asian author, and that's what I got with Rebecca Kuang. Now, I said that she drew upon historical references from the Second Sino-Japanese War, as well as Unit 731. She wanted to write a fantasy novel, but there were some certain things that Western audiences weren't privy to, and these are things that really happened to China, between China and Japan, and she felt that it was an important aspect of weaving this into a fantasy story, and it was done really, really well. The world building in here, we start off in a rural province of the Nichiren Empire, and that's where we meet our main character, Rin. She is growing up as a war orphan, and she has been raised by her foster family. They are actually opium dealers. So right away, this book does not shy away from talking about corruption and talking about human corruption and talking about some of the seedier things that happen in life. Right away, we're introduced to several issues of class and race and colorism between the different peoples of the Nichiren Empire, especially in the different provinces. She is actually much darker in color than a lot of the people in her province, as well as when she ventures on into the military academy at Sinigard, she experiences a lot of different class and race and color issues there as well. So right away we're exposed to that, and the differences between the country life and the city life. Again, not being afraid to show different forms of corruption. There are always people trying to hustle you. There was a really great scene when we first get into the Sinigard Academy of just how different life can be in this booming metropolis area of this Asian country, talking about pickpockets, talking about people trying to scam you for your money, and don't really talk to people, don't wear your hair in a ponytail because I don't want you to get pulled down an alley. It was just done really well. That was probably my favorite part about starting this book. I just feel like R.F. Kuang did such an amazing job, not necessarily simplifying an Asian context for Western readers, making it so it was just something that you could easily envision and you could feel the consequences without them having to happen to you, if that makes sense. So next I want to talk about the characters. We do meet several different characters, but like I said, the main character that we do follow is Rin. She decides she wants to take the Keiju, which is this test that will determine what the course of your career will be in this country. And all the students in the village want to take this test and score really well. She does end up scoring extremely well, and she places top in her province, and because she was placed top in her province, she is sent to the elite academy of Sinigard. People I've heard have problems with her because they think she's a Mary Sue kind of character, but I didn't feel that way because she worked her ass off to get to these different places. She studied her ass off to take the Keiju, and that's why she placed at the top. It's not because she was just innately born with this like freak accident and then she was able to go to this military academy. No, she studied super hard, she worked her ass off. Once she does arrive at the Sinigard Academy, she experiences differences in class, she experiences differences according to the color of her skin. Again, that doesn't stop her because she's just so driven by her need to be number one. Now, on the flip side of that, she doesn't necessarily listen to people because she's so driven by her need to be competitive and be number one. So that's like a little conflicting thing about her character, but I really did not have any problems with her as my lead character going into this book. There's some other characters that we meet. Kite, who is her friend at school. He is grown up very rich as the son of this powerful warlord, as well as Nasia, who is another son of a powerful warlord in a different province. So there she experiences two different forms of class issues, where one is fine with his money and he is able to be generous with it, and then the other one who wants her to be put in her place. There are the different masters at the academy. Her master at the academy is Master Zhang. I compared him a little bit to Mr. Miyagi, just in the sense that he's this eccentric martial arts master, lore master at the academy. He doesn't like to do things your way, he likes to do things his way, and he only has one student, and that's Rin. Not everybody wants to study under him. So that parallel is there, and maybe you've seen that storyline before, but I guess I'm a sucker for old eccentric mentors. And then we meet Alton, who is a superstar student in the academy, and later on she does encounter him as a general in the war. Overall, this book I was conflicted by because I really liked the setup. The world building to me was the strongest part of this book, but this book could have easily been split into two different parts. Rin's upbringing and her journey into the academy, her trying to get into the academy, and then her spending her time in the academy. I think that could have been its own story. So once we get to the war part, that's where things, I think, the pacing changes a little bit, and that's where we get many more of the historical references. It doesn't get super dark until like the last third of the book, but when it gets dark, R.F. Kuang is not afraid to go there, not afraid to tell you that these events have happened to people in the past, and I think that's why it's so unsettling for a lot of people, knowing that humans have committed these atrocities to another human being before, and it's not just fiction. The other things that were interesting to me are the use of psychedelic drugs and the use of opium and the use of heroin, and again, if you're not into reading about drug use, this is not going to be the book for you, but I did like the approach because it told about one, like the fun, quote-unquote fun side of it, this happy side of it, where you're using psychedelics to experience a different spiritual plane, versus the dark, gritty, shoot into your veins, heroin, opium addict. Like, there were two very different pictures of drug use, and I think she did a very good job of showing the juxtaposition between what people think drug use could be, which is this fun side, but also showing the really dark side. I think with, you know, the complaints I have about the pacing in the second half of the book, it almost made me rate this like 3.5 stars, but I think overall the good outweighed the bad. It was on the low end of a 4-star read, but again, I just felt like it was what I was looking for, and so ultimately the good outweighed the bad for me in this book, and that's why I rated it 4 out of 5 stars. All right, everyone, so I hope you enjoyed. That's my spoiler-free review of The Poppy War, written by R.F. Kuang. Please leave any comments in the comment section below. Do you plan on reading this book? There's been a lot of people who have picked it up on BookTube, so I'm not the first, nor will I be the last person to read it, so let me know if you do end up picking it up. And then, of course, I am going to be filming my spoiler thoughts on this whole book, because there's a lot to discuss. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter. It's at WhatCastRead. It's the same as this channel, so it should be super easy to find. And then, of course, you can also find me on Goodreads if you would like to see what I'm reading in real time, and that link will always be down below. Otherwise, you know how these videos end. I'll talk to you later. Bye.